Hello and welcome to my video today. I have a new product that just came in from Ampbility.com, and I think this is going to be a great addition for the Fisker Ocean. As you all know, the Fisker Ocean's hood uses a locking mechanism on the left hinge, so when it's open, that keeps the hood from closing. However, it is very uneven, and there have been cases where that hinge can fail. And also when closing, there have been cases where the hood has been closed without taking the hinge lock off, which can result in the hood bending on the left side, which is pretty awful. With the product that I'm going to be unboxing and installing today, that problem is no longer an issue. This is a strut system that will work with the existing hinges and existing hardware that's already in the car so that there's no drilling required, and I think it's probably one of the easiest installations compared to the results. You get a lot of bang for your buck with this. So without further ado, let's get started. This is the production version of the hood strut system, and I am going to unbox and install it today. So let's turn this over, and there's a little message that says open here. So I am going to cut the tape right there. And there. And let's see if this opens up for me. This side, there we go. Let's look inside. On top, we have a piece of paper here that has a QR code for the installation instructions. So you can check that out. Let's see, what do we have here? I am expecting this to be the hardware. Yep, so we have all the hardware in there. I'll separate that out and show you what it looks like after I get the rest of the stuff in here. We have the brackets in this bag, and then we have the struts themselves. We have two of those, and they both have the Ampbility logo on them. And let's see, I think that is everything. So the packaging is recyclable. You can take the cardboard and the filler and drop that off in your recycling bin. So that's pretty good right there. So let's organize all the parts, and I'll show you how they all fit together. Okay, I've set up all of the components of the kit, and this is kind of like how it's going to be installed. We have the lower mounts over here and the upper mounts on this side. We have the struts right here, and then we have all the hardware. So with the lower mounts, you're going to attach them to the strut and hand tighten them on. Then we're going to attach these flathead countersunk socket cap bolts. There's 4 of those. And then we need to attach a 13 millimeter M8 by 1.25 nut. We have 2 of those, and that goes in this area here of the mount. Then on the upper side, we're going to attach the upper mounts with these button head bolts. There are 2 of those. When they go through on the other side, on the hood, you're going to have 2 washers, and then 2 of these 10 millimeter M6 by 1.0 nylock nuts. Once those are installed, we're going to put the strut in through the opening here, and on the other side we have 2 more of the 13 millimeter M8 by 1.25 nuts. Here are the tools we're going to be using. There is a 4mm hex key or Allen wrench that is included with the kit. That's going to be used for all of these bolts. Then there's the included FSR finger tool, and this is going to be handy for the upper mount when we're going to be using the washers. So we would put a washer in like so, and then we're going to put the nut on top, and then it'll look like this. And then this is going to be put inside the hood, which is going to be a fairly tight area. So that's why we're using this, because it's hard to get your fingers in that area. And then we're going to be putting this bolt through that and then tightening it. So that's what this is going to be used for. In addition, there's a hood catch defeat plate, and this is going to be used to keep the locking mechanism of the hood from attaching, and this will allow us to use these struts to open and close the hood. So basically we're defeating the lock on that left side hinge. We're also going to need a plastic pry bar and a magnetic 13mm socket and wrench to open up the hood. In addition, we're going to need 3 wrenches, a 10mm, 12mm, and 13mm open box end or combination wrenches, and that they're going to be used for tightening these nuts here and here, and also the nuts that are on the struts themselves. And that's all you need to do this project. Make sure you use manual tools. No power tools should be used because we don't want to over torque anything. Not be good for the kit. It's also recommended after you do the installation, about a week later, make sure that all of the bolts are tightened and that nothing has moved around under the hood. I might as well attach the lower mount to the strut, and as you can see, it just goes in like this, and then I just turn the strut, and we'll just do this hand tightened, and there we go. And once you're done, you're going to want to make sure that the bolts are pointing in different directions. You want the lower one to be facing out and the upper one to be facing in. Another way to know that this is the correct direction is this is for the left side of the hood area. And if you look at the mount, there's an arrow, and that's going to be pointing towards the outside of the car. Also, for the mounts, they're going to have letters L and R. So this is going to indicate left, so we know that it's for the left mount. This one has an R, and it is for the right mount. And then I'll do the same thing for this side. And there we go. So like I said, make sure the bolts are pointing in opposite directions. We want it to be outside for the bottom and inside for the top. Here we have the left strut, and this is the lower end of it that connects to the lower mount. So what I'm going to do is take the mount and insert the nut inside it like so. Then I'm going to take the other end here and then place it inside. Then I can basically partially screw this in. Doesn't have to be tight yet. This just makes it easier for when I get in the car itself, and I can place this in the position where it's supposed to go. I'll do the same for the right side too. At this point, I can go to the car and install the kit. The first thing we need to do is remove the service panel. I'll use my plastic pry bar and pull that off. Place that aside. Now we use the 13mm socket wrench to remove the 2 bolts on either side of the front here. Now we carefully lift up the hood. You're going to hold it until you hear the lock. And once that's inserted into the hinge, you can let go. Now that we have the hood open, it's a good idea to protect your head from these brackets. So I have some pool noodles. Check out the video up here to show you how to make them. I'm going to be working on the left side of the car first, and I want to give you an idea of where we're going to be installing the struts. So this hole right here is where we're going to put the upper mount, and the lower mount is going to go right here. So the strut is going to go in between here and here. We're going to install the lower mount first, so we have to remove these 2 bolts right here with the 10mm wrench. Put both of these safely aside. Now I'm going to take the gas strut, and the mount is going to have the arrow facing this direction. So it's going to be pointing towards the outside of the car. That's where you want to have it located, right in this area here, so that these 2 openings match the 2 openings on the bracket. Then I can insert the 2 bolts into the opening. I'm going to hand thread them right now. Then I'll use the 4mm Allen wrench or hex key and then tighten them up. You want these snug, but you don't want to over tighten them. All right, there we go. Now we can use the 12mm wrench and tighten this right here. So I'm going to insert like that, and then I'm just going to be turning it until that's also snug. All right, there we go. So the left side strut is in place. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. This is the right bracket. We're going to remove these 2 bolts with the 10mm wrench. All right, we'll place those 2 bolts aside. Now these holes are open. Now we take the right strut, and we're going to have the mount here so that we see the arrow is going to be pointing to the outside of the car, which is in that direction. So it's going to go right here. So I am going to bend this forward so I get access to where the bolts are going to go inside. Just like before, I'm going to hand thread them. Then I'm going to tighten them up with the Allen wrench. For the final tightening, you want it snug, but you don't want to overdo it. All right, so that is good for those 2. Then take the 12mm wrench, and we are going to tighten this up. So now the bottom of the right strut is attached. We're back on the left side of the hood. We have the hood hinge right here. We're going to move up until we see this hole right here. Here is the bracket for the left side. As you notice, there is an L printed right here, so you know which side it goes on. And this is the position we're going to be doing. You're going to have the piece right here. This is going to get inserted into that hole, for example, like this. And it's supposed to be very snug. Push that in. Don't worry about it getting all the way in, because once you put the bolt in and the nut on the other side, it will compress this against the top of the hood there. Insert the bolt through the opening. It's going to come out the other side. So you can see the screw through the opening here. We're going to take our Allen wrench and get ready to start turning the bolt. So I'm going to have that inserted and ready to go. Then we have the washer and the nut on the FSR finger tool, and we're going to place that on top of the bolt. We're going to put a little pressure on it. I'm going to do that with my finger, and hopefully I can capture all this on video. Put my finger over the top of the bolt with the screw, and then I'm going to start turning. All right, so we got it started. Now I will take the 10mm wrench, the closed end, and place it over the nut. And then I will continue turning the hex wrench or Allen wrench here so that it goes all the way in. May take a while. All right, eventually you'll feel it tighten where you can't push it anymore. So now we are fully tightened on the upper mount. Now take the gas strut and move it over to the bracket, and then we're going to push up on the hood a little bit, and then you can just insert this inside there. You may need to adjust this nut here so it goes in, but then you can just push it. It will go into place. May need to hold the hood a little bit, and there we go. So once you see that nut disappear into the plastic mount, you are good as far as the insertion. Then we're going to take the nut here on the other side and hand thread that on. Use the 13mm wrench and then tighten that so it's snug. There we go. So here we are on the right side of the hood. We have the opening here. We have the bracket with the R on it, and we're going to place it in the position here so that you see the R is facing the outside of the car. So I am going to insert that into the opening like that. I can insert the bolts in there. Carefully take the FSR tool with the washer and the nut on it and place it inside of this opening right here. Going to put my finger on it so it doesn't move. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to be turning the bolt here with that 4mm Allen wrench. So let's get that going. All right, so you know when it's gone far enough, when you feel that nut inside there starting to move. So I can remove my finger and the FSR tool, take the 10mm wrench, place that over the nut, and continue the tightening. All right, it is going about as far as it's going to go. So I can release the wrench, and this is firmly attached. Swing the gas strut over so that we are in front of the opening. Push the hood up a little bit and insert it into the opening here. Push all the way in so that the entire nut is inside of the mount. Take the nut and go on this side here. I'm going to actually show you what that looks like. I'm going to hand thread this on. Then take the wrench and tighten it up. All right, there we go. So now we have both of the struts in position. At this point, we're going to check to make sure that the hood lock can open or close. You may have to push up on the hood a little bit and then press the button here. Then we're going to install the hood catch defeat, and I'm going to insert it through the top, and it locks into place. And this will keep the lock from engaging whenever you open the hood. For our final test, we want to make sure that all the bolts are secure for the lower and upper mounts and that everything is tight. Then we can do a test. Don't forget to remove the protection for the hood brackets. Now we're going to grab the top of the hood and slowly push it down. Make sure that nothing catches and it is smooth. Yep, it looks like it is working. So now let's test it again opening. So you're gonna pull up on it. And the nice thing is, wherever you let go is where it will stop. So if I have it at this height, it stays in position. Or if I push it all the way up, this is at the highest point. And things are looking good. Let me try it one more time. Grab the top of the hood, slowly press down, and you can feel the tension on it. It is very smooth. You still don't want to have it slam. You want to hold it so you go all the way down to the front of the car here. Yeah, so I think we are good. So at this point, you can reinstall the hood bolts and put the service lid back on, and you should be all set. Let me show you again. Grab the hood, lift it up. If you want it to stop midway, you can just let go right here. If you want it to go all the way, just push all the way up. Stays in position with the gas struts. To lower it, pull down on the hood gently until you reach the bottom. There you go. One more time. Fully open. Fully closed. All right, that's it. I've unboxed and installed the gas strut system for the Fisker Ocean's hood. As you can see, it works wonderfully. I think it's superior than just having a lock mechanism on the left hinge, which can have some issues if you leave the hood open for a long time. It's not an even amount of pressure on those hinges, and these hinges are not the greatest in design in the first place. It also eliminates the issues of damaging your hood when closing the hood without disengaging the lock. And we've seen pictures of that on the internet, and it is not a good thing. So just those two reasons, I think it is definitely worth getting this accessory for your Fisker Ocean. I have the link for the item in the video description if you want to purchase it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.